Hello crafting friends and welcome to my channel. I have a really fun project for you today. I'm going to be using this sign I got from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to be using a beautiful napkin I got from Thriple Designs and of course Mod Podge. We're going to be making a sign that you can put up through the fall into Thanksgiving, and then I have a little project I'm going to show for you at the end, like a bonus project. I'm going to teach you something new, I think, and combine some different techniques, so I think you're going to have a lot of fun. These are projects I love to do. If you love these projects, you can see more at my YouTube channel, Decoupage D.I.Y. with Joan-Marie Domino. Make sure you subscribe and hit the little bell for notifications. I love these signs from the Dollar Tree that have the slats in them. They have them from all different occasions. So we're going to be using the pumpkin, of course, and this is going to be for fall and Thanksgiving. This is the napkin I chose. This is from Thriple Designs, and when you open it up, it's a beautiful floral. It fits all the way across the pumpkin. We're not going to be using the entire napkin, though. We're only going to be using half of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it together and I'm going to tear and separate it in half, just like this. You see how I'm keeping it together? All right, and now we have half of the napkin. Now I just want to explain, if you're wondering what I meant by together, it means I didn't separate the top ply from the other plies, which is what we normally would do, but I'm going to do that now. I'm going to put a little bit of Mod Podge between my fingers, just a little bit, and get it sticky. And I'm going to go up in the corner and I'm just going to pull it apart, and there you go. I have the beautiful top layer of the napkin. All right, now we're ready to apply the napkin to the pumpkin. So I'm going to be using some Mod Podge decoupage glue, and I put mine in small containers, and I have an ordinary brush. So I'm going to lift up part of the napkin and start to apply the Mod Podge right onto the wood. Now, you might be wondering, aren't we supposed to paint this first? Sometimes we do paint, but this wood looked really nice and it's very pale, so it's going to just give the napkin a little bit more warmth. That's why I'm not painting white underneath. So I am using a bag, a plastic bag. I'm just smoothing it a little bit just to get rid of any wrinkles, or keep the wrinkles at bay, I should say. You might get a little bit of wrinkles in this kind of project. So I'm applying more Mod Podge. And then I'm just going to bring the napkin down. Now, when I'm doing this, I'm not holding the napkin really taut because I want to tuck some of the napkin inside the slats. And I'm going to use the bag again because I just want to make sure the napkin is flat. And we're going to go ahead and do that very last piece in the same way. And remember, here I'm kind of tucking in because I want you to be able to see those slats. And we're going to get the plastic bag and we're just going to rub it down again. Alrighty, we're going to do a little bit more with the slats. Now that the glue is dry, we're ready to remove this excess napkin from the edge, and I'm going to use just an ordinary nail file, and I'm going to do a downward stroke along the edge, and the napkin is just going to tear off perfectly. I don't have to worry about it ripping or trying to get a scissor. It does a really good job. All right, now that I've removed the edge, look how pretty that is. I mean, you could almost just leave it the way it is, but we're not going to. We're going to add some paint, and the first color we're going to do is brown. It's just an ordinary brown, not expensive paint, and I'm going to paint above the napkin like that. Okay, I'm going to take the brown ink and I'm going to go all the way across above the napkin, and as I'm doing this, I'm noticing it's a little bit blotchy, so I'm thinking I may have to go in with a second coat, and let's let that dry. The brown paint was kind of blotchy, so I did go in and give it a second coat, and now I just put on some red. This is the color that I used. It says bright red, and I put it right on top of the brown. And you might be wondering, why did she do that? Well, wait until you see the technique I'm going to use. I'm just going to fill it in a little bit more. Love that paint. Now that the paint is dry, we're ready to go on to the next step. This is going to be so much fun. Wait till you see what we're going to do with a candle. Now, this has been around for a long time. Furniture people have been using this. I wanted to show you, and I thought, let's start with something small like this pumpkin. And all you do is take your candle, I'm using the edge, and just run it up and down and along the edges of the pumpkin, just like that. Do as little or as much as you want. Well, I think I have enough wax and I can go ahead and put the candle aside, and we're going to go on to the next step, and that is to add paint on top of the wax. Yes, I'm going to add paint on top of the wax. I picked a color that was close to the background of the napkin, and you're going to see I'm just going to put the paint right on top of the wax. So we have a lot of layering going on. I started with brown paint, and then I put on some red, and then wax, and now I'm putting on some yellow. And if you notice, I'm not being exceptionally neat with this because I'm going to be doing a distress on the top part of the pumpkin. It's going to give us a lot of texture. This is the top layer. It's going to be distressed. You don't have to worry about it being super neat. All right, the next step before we go on to the fun part, which is the distress, is I wanted to put a word on it for Thanksgiving, and I really like the word thankful. Now, let me show you some of the things I got from the Dollar Tree. They had different colors, and they had different wording, and what I did was I thought that the black would look best. Now, how I came to that is, well, I tried the other colors right on top, and as you can see, that color just blended way too in. It really kind of faded out with that paint and that napkin. So then I saw this, and I'm like, woo, I really like that. The only problem with that is once I distress, you're not going to see it that well. So I decided, okay, I'm going to paint it black, and that's the one that I'm going to use. All right, now on to this really fun technique I'm going to be doing on the top of the pumpkin. And what do I have? I have an ordinary piece of sandpaper. I got this from the Dollar Tree. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start rubbing the pumpkin where I put the paint, just like that. All right, I'm going to hold it up so you can see. That was done with the wax, and what I'm getting is this incredible vintage old sign look. Now, people do this on big pieces of furniture, but you start with something small like this and just keep using the sandpaper and go over it as much or as little as you want, and just kept checking that out. I absolutely love this. I think that this technique really added to this sign. I was looking for something really vintage and more vintage than some of the other techniques that I have used. So I'm very excited for you to try this. All right, you see all those marks? That was done with the wax. What a fun technique to try. Now I want to actually distress the napkin, and I'm going to use Mod Podge. There it is. I'm going to put it right on top of the napkin. Now, I don't know if you noticed, I tore a little bit of the napkin when I was sanding the top because I should have done this step first. Okay, so you see, I do all the mistakes and then I tell you so you have a successful project and you don't have any kind of frustration. So I'm just going to go over the entire napkin with the Mod Podge, and it's just going to make it stronger so that when I sand it, I'm not going to rip the napkin. Once I have the whole napkin covered with Mod Podge, I'm going to let it dry, and then I'm going to come back with sandpaper, and I am going to go over the napkin. But that Mod Podge is going to protect the napkin from ripping, yet I'm going to be able to dull the finish. Now that the Mod Podge is dry, I can go ahead into the next step, and the Mod Podge really, it's surprising, but it does give a lot of strength to the napkin. So I can go ahead in with my sandpaper, and I'm just going over where the napkin is. I'm dulling the finish of the napkin. I don't want the colors quite that bright. I want it to be more vintage so that it's going to go along with the top part of the sign. All right, I think I'm just about done with the sanding, and I'm on to my next step, which is to add some wording. So I picked the word thankful I showed you before, and I had painted it black, and I decided I'm going to adhere it to the wood sign by using craft glue because these words were like a foam, and I was afraid the hot glue was going to melt them. So I'm just going to use a brush and apply my glue to the back of the words until it's nicely covered, and then I'm going to be able to take it and I'm going to put it right on top of the pumpkin. I'm going to kind of play around with it just a little bit until I have it where I want, and then I'm going to press down really well. I love how the black lettering of thankful looks so good up against the napkin and that distressed wood. We did that with a candle. Do you believe it? Coming up next, that's our little bonus project. Now, when I was done, I decided to use it as a hanger, and I put a little piece of rope on it, and I decided I was not going to add any kind of bow. I don't want to take away from all of the distress around the edges, so I'm just going to hang it instead. Now, if you want to do signs like this, what you have to do is take a look at your napkin. This napkin, the image flowed from one panel into the other. I love this napkin, and that's why it worked so well. So look through your napkins. At the springtime, you can find napkin like this with little birdies. Of course, this came from Vippy's Designs. The image flows from one panel to the other, and it works perfect. Now, this napkin is even larger. I'm going to open it up so you can see all the tulips. And again, up there, you actually have a nice big space where you can put some wording. So you have lots of options here for using different napkins for all different seasons. And also, you learned how to do a new technique, which is to add distress to your work. Okay, time for the bonus project. I picked up these little pumpkins from the Dollar Tree. They always have these great wooden shapes around all the different holidays and occasions. I think it gets 6 to 8 in a pack. So what I did is I gave it 2 coats of white paint. I've already done that. I did 1 coat, let it dry, then I put on my 2nd coat, let it dry. The next thing I did is right on top of the white paint, I went in with Mod Podge. I put 2 coats of Mod Podge on as well, letting each coat dry before adding the next. Now that the glue is dry, you're wondering, what are we going to do with dry glue? Well, we're going to use the iron-on technique. Here is my little iron. It's a Cricut iron, and it's ready to go. So here's the first napkin that I picked. It's so lovely. Look at those big, bold flowers. Well, first I want to remove that top printed layer. So I'm going to put a little Mod Podge between my fingers, press down the corner, and we're going to remove the back unprinted ply. So now I want to line it up on the pumpkin where I want, and I decided I really want to get as much of that orange flower as I can. So I'm going to put a piece of baking parchment on top, and I'm going to start to run my iron on it. Next, I moved on to a really pretty napkin with a pumpkin. Same thing, iron with the parchment paper on top. I love this napkin. Look at this. Beautiful strollers on an autumn day, parchment paper, and the iron on top. Now, you know, it's going to be Thanksgiving, so Halloween is going to come first. I love this napkin from Vippy's Designs. Same thing, parchment paper, and then we are going to iron it. I'm going to pick it up so that you can see how well adhered it is to. Okay, now we have to remove that excess napkin, and nothing can be easier. We're not going to be using a scissor. We're going to be using a nail file again. And all we're going to do is use a downward stroke, and we're going to go all the way around the pumpkin, and that extra napkin is going to come right off. Now, if you're wondering about the dry glue, I'm just going to back up a little bit. When we use the iron, the glue melts, and the napkin adheres perfectly flat to the piece of wood, in this case, the pumpkin. That's why it's such a great technique. All right, let's take a look. The iron-on does such a great job. So this is the napkin I used to make this pumpkin with the jack-o'-lantern. Really nice, very vintage image. This pumpkin is the one I made that had the napkin with the 2 big bold flowers on. I mean, do you believe we're making these things with paper napkins? You know, it never ceases to amaze me, and I do this almost every day. There's the orange background with the pumpkin on it, and this one has to be my favorite. Look at this. Look at the couple taking a stroll on an autumn day. That is so pretty. It looks like a watercolor. This iron-on technique is so fabulous. I loved making these pumpkins so much. I decided I'm going to do a few more that I can show you. So that pumpkin, that's actually a sticker on that pumpkin. That's a sticker of a gnome. Here's another one of my favorite napkins, pumpkin spice and everything nice. I added some paint and a little bow. It came out so cute. One of my favorite napkins from Vippy's Designs is this adorable squirrel. And here's that napkin on the pumpkin. And you see the little bow? That's actually made from the border of the napkin. All right, now I have a surprise for you. Are you ready? Let me get my paper plate. Here it is. And now I'm going to get another one of my pumpkins. And as you can see, it's painted white. But wait a minute. Is it really white? Let me get my sandpaper and let's take a look. All right, I did the same thing. So yes, I used the same technique on this little pumpkin that I did on the big pumpkin sign. And the fun thing about doing it on something small like this is you can try different color combinations. This one I used more blues and turquoise in it when I used more yellows and reds when I did the big sign. So this is a good way to practice working with different colors and the candle distress method. So here's another one I did. that I used the same thing, different colors again, a different method. This time I used yellows and blues. I added a little letter on it. I thought, wow, this would look really cute on a place setting for Thanksgiving. I loved showing you this project. It was so much fun and so interesting, right? To do something like this. And I used an ordinary candle and a beautiful napkin from Vippy's Designs, and I created this really pretty sign. And in addition to doing this, we also did the same technique on a couple little pumpkins, just like that. And again, I think that would make a great favor. Now, when I showed you how to do this, I took you step by step and I taught you a new technique. This is a technique you can add on to your other decoupage projects. Go to my YouTube channel, Decoupage D.I.Y. with Joan-Marie Domino, and subscribe. I have more videos like this coming up, and I have a ton on there already. Make sure you share with your friends and hit the little bell for future notifications. And let's not forget the other pumpkins I made during this video, my little bonus project. And you know what? I didn't finish them off the way I did this little squirrel, how I added the bow. I'm going to finish them, and I'm going to put them onto my Facebook page, which goes right along with my YouTube channel, Decoupage D.I.Y. with Joan-Marie Domino. So make sure that you like and follow me on Facebook as well. And remember, I get all of my napkins from Vippy's Designs.